All right, I'm here with Justin Escalona.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Of course.
Yeah. So, basically, we've had a few athletes and sports people on, and then now we wanted to get you on here.
Yeah.
Because you do a number of different things, which is quite interesting with your merch, YouTube channel, and vlogging and all that kind of stuff. And
Thank you. Yeah.
Seen some success in that area. So, I mean, that's something that we're looking to do and, to get some knowledge and insight into those areas from yourself and even for the people listening, who want to go down that path. It'd be great to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to be here because I've gone to your store on Melrose all the time. It's
nice.
pretty cool to see all this behind the scenes and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The headquarters is different, because we got things we're working on. Shipping, it's not like just the store is, Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So appreciate you coming down.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been in LA for 4 years now?
Yep.
Yeah. From Chicago?
Yeah. So I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. If you guys don't know who I am, I grew up just always taking photos of different musicians back in Chicago because whenever people had to go on tour, like as an emerging artist, Chicago was always like a hotbed destination that you had to go to. So that's how I got my start. Started taking photos of everyone who came in town.
Awesome, yeah. And then we got my in-house guy Eric, and he was doing something like that too. So yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
And then so your YouTube channel is that like your number one source of traffic?
So yeah, I have a that's how I got started and everything. Is I made a YouTube channel. I started daily vlogging every single day when I moved to California for 500 days straight. And it really helped me build up my different brands I had in mind. And then from there, I just launched off so many different companies. So I could say that YouTube is the main thing, but building other things from the YouTube is what is more important now.
Oh, cool. And because you have a merch line, right?
Yes.
And it's what you're wearing right now?
Yeah. So it's called 1340 Collective. Yeah. And it's it all really started from my YouTube channel, but now it's been growing into its own little thing.
That's cool. Yeah. So you started from YouTube, and then are you getting sales directly, from the channel or? Yeah.
So whenever I do a new collection, of course I'll utilize my social medias where I post on my Instagram and my YouTube that I release a new collection. But it's been surviving without the need for the YouTube and Instagram pushes now, which is really nice.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So, but I definitely will give a lot of credit to the YouTube and Instagram for really launching it in the beginning.
Yeah. And I mean, I can attest to that for myself because Instagram, when we kind of started out, it was very new,
right?
And that was the best platform for us to just kind of directly have contact with our fans, and people that wanting the clothing, and I think that kind of opened up a new avenue of kind of selling clothing and
100%,
and people can keep up with whatever you're doing and that kind of stuff. And it's one thing that we're kind of as we grow, it's trying to keep that in and just kind of make it more personal.
Right.
Yeah. Is that something that?
Yeah. So what I think is cool about the Instagram is that you can really tell stories about your clothing to everybody, and someone can just go on your Instagram and see a little marketing material and understand this it's more than just a shirt. There's a big story behind the brand, and you can also have such quick access to buying stuff now. When you go on Instagram, half the time I go on Instagram, I end up buying something just scrolling. I don't even mean to buy anything.
Crazy. Yeah.
And it's just it's cool that before then I feel Instagram wasn't that popular, and in order to purchase a shirt, there were so many different levels of entry to get into.
Yeah.
And now you can just scroll and click tap and buy.
Yes.
And now you have it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when Facebook took them over, I guess,
they
kind of implemented all those things, and the algorithm and all that kind of stuff maybe not as great.
Right.
I used to like the chronological, which was, better for me. But, I definitely agree with what you're saying and telling the story behind a T-shirt because,
right.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to do is give that story because a lot of people don't know it. And then, why is this T-shirt $90? Why is it $80? There's a lot of different factors that go into that, and there's a lot of care that goes into that. It's not just the T-shirt.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I definitely attest to that too.
Yep.
So what's been the biggest challenge that you've had as an entrepreneur?
So as an entrepreneur, I feel is the daily when you're a normal like employee for like a normal brand, like you have like a job, you know exactly what you're going to do every single day. You have to go in, you have to go, you have your daily tasks that like, your boss tells you need to do. Yeah. But when as an entrepreneur, you have nothing. Like you have to figure it out every single day by yourself. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, when you're working a normal job, you can easily like just slack off and not really pay attention that day, but you still get paid your guaranteed rate. But as an entrepreneur, if you don't work hard, you get paid how much you worked. Like you just go broke, you make zero.
Yeah.
And that's the daily struggle of like, oh, you always need to be motivated, which leads to obvious burnout. But I enjoy the constant pressure of always needing to work because I think it's really fun. But for a lot of entrepreneurs, I feel like that can be a really tough problem, like to stay constantly motivated 24/7.
Yeah, definitely. And I know for myself that the best way for me to stay motivated is one, I'm doing something that I love to do.
Right.
So basically, you know, in that respect, it doesn't feel like work for me.
Yeah.
But you know, there's obviously things that I have to do in day to day that aren't as fun. You know, like some admin stuff and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, to get motivated on that, no one's really telling you what to do. But I guess the plus side of it is that you can work as hard as you want, and you know, there's no ceiling to, you know, what you can achieve with that too.
Yeah, you never know. Like as an entrepreneur, you can have just an idea and you work hard enough, like you can be the best. But if you're working at a job, like you can only get raised up whenever they think you're ready to be raised up.
Yeah.
There's no one telling you like what you should be doing, and I love that freedom.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think like I don't think like that's necessarily something for everybody, because I know I used to work in a job and I would talk to people that I was working with and they didn't necessarily have those aspirations. And I think there are people that want to work in something that they believe in, and there are people that want to go out and create something of their own.
Right.
So yeah, definitely what I like to do also is I try my best to give the staff some ownership and also some, you know, growth potential within you know, within the parameters of what they're doing. And even we try and also like have them work on things that they want to work on, because I feel like people do better when they work on things that like,
like if you're always told like what to do every single day and you have like, and you don't have like a there's this thing I just realized the other day, like when you start something new, you always have like so much more motivation to do that.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the same thing over and over and over again. And like, cause whenever there's something new, like you have like a whole new level of energy towards that project. So I feel like always changing it up and having like new things to be focused on is how you can really build something strong. Because if you're just constantly doing the same project every single day, you're not going to want to do it anymore.
Yeah, it gets a bit monotonous. And I think like that's what's great about fashion is, you know, we're working season to season, so it is something new each season. So for me, I'm always focused on the next one.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's kind of like we are working on something new, so it's definitely that definitely gives me that extra motivation to move forward. And my most exciting thing is to see new samples, and that's what I live for every day. So when we don't have that, because production gets busy, you know, production can be kind of boring, but I also enjoy it too.
Right.
Yeah. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from in that respects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, so let's see, like, where do you get your merchandise made right now?
So 1340 is I create all the designs here in Los Angeles, but all the manufacturing is actually done in Chicago.
Oh, cool.
Because I grew up in Chicago, and it's I have a nice warehouse there where we have all of our printing and all of our materials there.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. Like I love going to the warehouse and like checking up on it. I go to Chicago probably like every month just to check up on it.
That's cool, yeah.
And it's like it's such an operation. There's so much more to like I feel like a lot of people maybe listening to this who are trying to get into clothing just think like, oh, all you need to do is like print a t-shirt. Like, you just got to like silk screen. It's like, well, it's not that simple. Like there's a lot more to it. Yeah. Like I know a lot of people like try to simplify like, oh, merch companies. Oh, you just come up with the design on Photoshop and you print it. Well, sure. But like if you want to actually sell a lot, like you have to do a little more than that. Like there's my favorite part about making clothes is coming up with an idea and then seeing it created into something physical. Because when it's just on your computer, it's just a mock-up, and you can just, it was just like a fragment of an idea that you had. And to see like, oh, you have all these employees coming in and printing all these different shirts, and like now it's a physical product that you can hold, I think is such a cool like process, because to me it was just an idea in my head that I chopped up real quick in Illustrator, and now it's something that people are wearing and people are buying, and I just love that.
It's exciting.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean that kind of goes back to what I was saying about seeing new samples. It's like you get an idea and like, let's put the sample down now and see how it comes out, and then it's like, oh man, this is awesome. So that's the excitement, and then you want to kind of share that with people to be able to experience that too. So yeah, and like you said, they're starting a clothing company. There are a lot of moving parts.
Right.
It isn't just printing. There's shipping. There's like there's a whole company basically, and each function there's your media section where you're creating content. There's your production process, there's the shipping, and then there's even customer service when you get complaints and all that kind of stuff, and or even though people have wrong sizes and stuff like that. You have to really cater to all those
things. Like for anyone who's trying to like create a company right now, it's more than just getting the sale. Like once the sale is made, it's not like fully over yet. Like you need to ship it out, and you got to make sure it gets there on time, and you got to make sure that it's not like a defective product.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like chargebacks are such a huge thing. Like people like call in fraud on their purchases.
Yeah,
and like it's really like there's so much stuff you have to worry about besides just selling the shirts, and I think it's overlooked.
Yeah, and I think also, obviously, you have the sale, but then we don't just want one sale.
Right, you
want to make them a customer for life.
Right.
So that one sale has to be delivered to them, like you said, but then they have to like it too.
Exactly.
And the quality has to be good, and they have to be wanting to come back and be like, I gotta get another one.
Right.
And then I gotta get the next season. So yeah, you definitely have to capture their attention, especially these days.
Exactly. Because I feel brands. Like everyone has a brand now.
Yeah.
Like Black Friday just happened, and I saw so many people like release shirts saying like, oh, it's a limited quantity, you have to hurry up fast. And it's like, well, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like there's people, like every single person has a fucking company now, I feel like. Like whenever I go on Instagram, like I was looking on Black Friday, there was like advertising companies saying like, oh, we're dropping our merch. It's like, well, why do I want your merch? Like, why? Like, who
as an advertising?
Like, you're not. Like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
And it's becoming so saturated right now. So like, you have to really make a product that stands out. Like, it can't just be like another company saying, oh, we have a limited drop. Like, well, like sure, it's limited, but like, I don't really want it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like another thing that you do well at is you have the story behind the brand, and that kind of makes the product aspirational, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not just like just if you took out the story behind your brand and you just printed 1340 on a sweatshirt, and then you were like, released it with no story, no anything, no context, do you think that would
I don't think anyone would buy it.
Yeah.
So like with any brand that I've made, like if anyone's listening who doesn't know, like every company I make needs a story. Like it needs to have something bigger than just the brand. And like 1340 was the reason why it's called 1340 is because when I was a freshman in college, I had this dorm room that was known for just like being wild. Like we always had such a culture there. Like there'd be parties there every single night, and like everyone would come in. It was like a space to come to. Yeah. Like even when I wasn't in the actual dorm, like people would be hanging out in our room, and we had all of our electronics out, and no one stole anything. It was such like a community. So when I went to go build the clothing company, I'm like, what represents me? Like what is like my day-to-day life like? Like what do I focus so much of my energy on? And it was like, oh, my room. I love this energy in this room. So that's why I named it after 1340. And all the while I was vlogging the entire process of like everyone coming into my room and having fun there. So like it resonated deeper than just like, oh, like it's not just a number like 1340. It's like it's like there's a whole brand behind it. There's like a culture behind it.
You can buy into that culture, even
exactly.
if you're not, like you're not friends with Justin. Like it's like, well, we can have a sweatshirt and be kind of be a bit somewhat a part of that.
Yeah, and then like a step further into it is like when every individual collection is, I like to tell like a greater story through the pieces.
Yeah.
So like I made this one piece that it's like my best selling piece. It's a hoodie that says the suburbs on the front, and on the back it's a photo of a cul-de-sac, and it says the United States of Suburbia, and there's a quote that says, "This town will always be too small for all the ideas in my head." I think I messed up that quote, but it's something like that. And
I love that United States is suburbia.
Yeah, and it's like it sold so well because people who don't even know who I am, they feel the same way. Like I told this whole story about how like growing up in the suburbs like defined me who I am, but like I need to leave because there's so much more in the world for me.
Yeah.
And like telling like micro stories like that in every collection is so much more fun. Like I'd rather buy a shirt that has a meaning versus a shirt that just says the number. Like it's cool.
No, definitely. I can agree to that. And, you know, that's, I think a lot of times I forget myself about telling the story for the brand. And, you know, because if I tell like one of my employees, like, oh yeah, this is blah, this is the LA sunset, this is like all the things this is the mountains that I drive past every day, all the things that go into that thing, it just communicates way more to him. And he's like, now I get it even more, you know? So I think that's one thing that, you know, we're working on is to tell that story. And you didn't even know I was from Australia. A lot of people don't know that. So then that's also part of my story too. So I think like us being able to tell that story, and even I like how you kind of incorporated your roots of Chicago into what you do, you know, even make your stuff there. And I've had thoughts about kind of doing a little bit more back home in Australia.
That's cool.
So yeah, definitely. And yeah, like you said, you do all your production out in Chicago.
Yes.
For me, I kind of adopted Los Angeles as my home.
Right.
And I like to make my product where we are. And that's kind of like, you know, homegrown. Yeah. Because we kind of came up from here. Even though I kind of have, you know, my Australian roots. But yeah, definitely I like that you do that. You're still giving back to the city of Chicago in terms of making your product there, right?
Yeah, it's nice because like a step further, like the greater like feeling is like making clothes is a lot of money. Like you have to pay a lot of money for production, and being able to pay someone that I know, like because the guy who owns the warehouse and the whole production facility that I partnered up with is like a family friend of mine.
Yeah.
So being able to give like a family friend like a very stable like monthly source of income is pretty cool feeling versus like just giving it to a random company out here in LA.
Yeah.
And like these checks are huge. So like it's cool.
That's great. Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day too when I was doing my Thanksgiving kind of post, you know. It was more like, you know, I was thinking about the things that I was thankful for, and basically I like the idea that in business, you know, you can help people grow, and everyone can kind of win, you know.
Right.
It's like my sewer, he started out in a very small like sewing space, and it was probably 200 square feet. And we used to produce everything out of there. And then, you know, as we've gone along together, we've worked together for like from 2012 up to now. So it's like, you know, 7 years.
Yeah.
Then he went to 1,000 square feet, and then he's at 2,500 square feet. And now we're in the same building that we're in now. And I like the fact that he's been able to grow, and I want him to grow, and all the vendors, you know, it's kind of like there's a kind of like a reciprocity, you know, like reciprocation of like, you know, I get something for them, they get something for me, because that's how it should be, you know. It's like, and that's the good thing about being an entrepreneur.
You can help out anybody. Like everyone can be a part of the process. Like cool thing about being an entrepreneur is like the person who takes my product photos is my girlfriend. And like, it's just like, oh, I can pay a company or to do the service, or I can just pay someone who's like close to my life.
Yeah.
And having that opportunity where it doesn't affect me each other way, but being able to help out people that I actually care about is fun.
Yeah. And I think there's probably more of a care factor, you know.
Yeah, right. Because
girlfriend and
the photos are going to turn out better anyways.
Yeah, because she knows you.
Yeah,
she knows what you're looking for, and
it's cool. Like even like my personal manager is like just like one of my best friends from growing up in Chicago. Yeah, and we just kind of learned the whole industry together, and being able like that's someone who's not going to like screw me over. Like we're friends. So like in the end, like I say, if all business goes like foul, still friends, and that's what I like.
Yeah. Well, for me, my wife is my business partner, and you know, that's the person that I trust the most. And I think you need a partner in business and someone that you do trust. And
right.
Yeah. Kind of like what you've been saying is kind of like an entourage story.
Like my
like,
whole
you're like the Vinny Chase.
Entourage is my favorite show. That's what like got me to move to LA.
I love that show. Yeah.
Like it literally inspired me when I was in high school to like do LA. Like I never thought I even wanted to do LA until I saw Entourage and I watched like the whole show in like 2 weeks.
Crazy. I think that show probably inspired a lot of people to move here because you're not the first person that said, I want to come out here because of like Entourage.
Like, because before like watching Entourage, like I had a very limited scope of what LA was even like. I knew like, oh, LA is a place to go to make movies. It's a place to like become rich and famous. But I never like really knew like how. Yeah. So I have this whole thing like whenever I want to do something, I need like an actionable activity to do. Like, you know how someone's like, oh, we need to grow the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, that's such a broad thing to say. Like, how do you actually grow it? So like, I need like something to do. Like my whole thing is I need something to do the next day. Like, what can I do tomorrow? And like, say for example, like the idea is like, oh, I have to do a collaboration with someone tomorrow. Yeah. And then that's cool. But like when I was watching Entourage, I knew nothing about Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But then you watch it and you see every like in and out of like what like daily life is like. I'm like, damn. That's what like I need to be doing. Like I need to be going to all the places they go to. I need to go do that stuff. And that like definitely inspired me to come here.
Yeah. And like you said, there is more to the city than people that haven't been here wonder. It's not like there's such a great fashion industry from what I've experienced, and production is great here. And I think a lot of things go hand in hand with, movies and fashion, music and sports. It's all kind of here. So it's kind of like a melting pot. And I can even attest to that because before I moved here, like I was in Australia and I was dreaming of moving to New York and that was what I wanted to do.
Right.
New York was it. Hadn't been there. I love New York. I went there and it was still the one. And then came to LA. New York was still the one. And then LA kind of grew on me. And it just kind of seemed to fit the lifestyle I wanted to live. And basically, that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, I think what's really fun about LA is that like it's very laid back, but it's also very not laid back at the same time. Like they're always around people who are just constantly working, and it's cool to be around people who are like way more successful than you.
Yeah.
Because now it's like when you grew up in the suburbs, like there's a cap. There's only so many people who like are like super successful that you can really be learning from. When you come here and like I thought I was doing well, then you meet someone who you meet someone who's just killing it. Like say like you guys, like Daniel Patrick's like, wow, this is like really dope. And now it makes me feel like more motivated to go out and kill it even harder. And just constantly being motivated is so important as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think you're right there for sure, because if you kind of like compare yourself to your surroundings and what's around there, and maybe you rose to the top in this area, but if you're in an area where people are like, there's a lot of different people that are rising to the top, and there's a lot of different areas that you can improve on and succeed. And you have, you can compare, you have something to compare to in terms of success and, how to measure that.
Like if you're always at the top, like what makes you want to keep going? Like what makes you push to like be even better? Like that's like the whole saying, like when you play like sports, like if you're always the best, like you can't really become much better than everyone else because you're already the best. But if you're like if you like in your head tell yourself you're not the best and you want to be the best, like, and like, but that's how you get really, really good.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like that's what I love about this town is that like anyone, like the most like unassuming people are very successful.
Yeah. And I definitely think you're right there. Definitely with regards to like, if you think that you're the best you can be at this particular point in time, how can you get any better?
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah,
exactly.
It's like I kind of like to live in a particular place where I'm like, not that I want to put myself down, but I'm like, okay, cool, that could be better. And
exactly.
And I 100% believe that everything that we do could be better. And I'm probably pretty sure you think that too, right? And I think any artist and entrepreneur is a little bit hard on themselves in the way that they do that to themselves. And it's kind of, you need to kind of be that way. Otherwise you're complacent and, everyone will just go past you.
Exactly. Like like a lot of like this is what I've noticed. A lot of like older, like at least in the digital world right now, like there's a lot of people who are just older people who are not like hip to it. I was talking to Eric earlier today about like how like some photographers like that are really like that were really successful back in the day, had their own style, but now like with like the Instagram being very popular, like those like old traditional styles of photos are becoming very outdated like very quickly. And now all the young kids are coming in and just swooping up like because the styles are way more like trendy now and kicking out all the older guys. And the older guys are like they're so like stuck in the ways of like taking photos. Like this is a good example. Like when you're in high school, you have to do like senior portraits or like it's like a thing you do.
Yeah.
And a lot of these senior portraits when you go to like a studio, it looks so bad.
Yeah.
Because like they have like the perfect backdrop, they have like the perfect 3-point lighting on you, and you just look flat. But a kid, like anyone now with the camera, can go outside and just take something better and doesn't charge like $500. And I don't understand how those companies who still like have the traditional photo shoots are even still in business, because that stuff is so outdated looking to me.
Yeah.
And some kid
like
who
Step Brothers.
Exactly. Like a kid who just comes and buys a DSLR can take a photo better for free. So like I just love that competitiveness now.
Yeah, I kind of like I mean, I totally agree with you. I think, you know, as an artist or in any field of like, you know, even if you're a doctor or, you know, like a photographer, anything like that, you have to constantly evolve to some degree. And
Yes.
you have to constantly be learning and, you know, staying up with what's happening and even just a step ahead of it.
Right.
If you stop doing that, you kind of get left behind a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I think that's what is very fun about entrepreneurship. Like you can take it two ways. You can either let it crush you or you can let it like really motivate you. Like when you see constant change, like, it's fun. Like I was saying earlier.
I love change. And that's, you know, I agree with that.
But like if you're like the guy who's like, oh, I'm just like, I like my ways, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
This is how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing for us is like, you know, I'm always changing. And then sometimes I even forget about some of the little elements that were successful for us. And a lot of like customers still want that. So I kind of, right now I'm trying to balance giving what like was successful with giving what we've evolved to and what's new. So I think, you know, that balance that I'm working on is kind of still working on, you know, the next thing, but also taking elements from the past. And
so I was actually having a really like deep like thinking about that as well recently, because I get a lot of messages like, oh, because I release a new design every single month, and like every month I think I made the best new design. But like a lot of people like don't really see that sometimes. Like they're stuck in the old ways, how I used to design.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, oh, that's like so bad. But there has to be like a balance of like.
That's how I think too. I was like, yeah.
Like everything like looks bad to me that's old. Like you can be like 4 months ago and I'm like, damn, this is ugly. Like I don't even know like why I ever thought this was good. But like it's not. Like I just have different tastes. But I've been finding a balance of like, oh, like it's what's selling and what do I like? Like, and I need to be able to sometimes go back and stop trying to like push so hard to make like these new type of designs that are that push the boundary too much. Because if you push too hard, I feel like sometimes the consumers don't really want to buy it.
Well, they may not be moving as fast as your head.
Exactly.
And that's fine, you know,
What I think is funny though is like there's been like 2 specific instances where I thought like I made a banger design.
Yeah.
And it did not sell. It did not sell well at all. But come like 6 months later,
it sold.
People want that design more than anything because it was just too ahead. Like when you're like on the West Coast, I feel like it takes a few months for like the Midwest and East Coast to catch up on if that's trendy.
Yeah.
So I made a print that was a full hoodie print. Like it was all over the entire shirt. And everyone, when I dropped it, was like, oh, it's too loud. It's too aggressive. Like I would never wear this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I think it's really cool. And it only sold like X amount. And then 6 months later, overly flashy prints became trendy. And it's all I messaged about is, when are you going to drop this shirt again? I'm like,
so you dropped it again?
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, I mean, I can attest to that too. Because when I started, I was all against like labels. And it was more, about the details. I wanted someone to see my clothing and know it's my clothing just from the details.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, I got an inkling to do, these all over prints.
Right.
And like I said, like you said, it took a little bit of time to catch on.
Right.
But there's also the people that want that old stuff. So so what I'm trying to do now is kind of I'm referencing my archives now, which is kind of cool that you get to a point 8 years down the track and you're referencing yourself.
That's exactly what I've been doing. On my next collection, I've been just studying like what worked back in the day.
I'm totally with you on that.
And even though like if to me the designs aren't as crazy, because I've always thought like I need to progress and like get better at like my intricacies of design. And I was like, I need to like constantly make something like more impressive. But then I started looking back and my old designs are just literally just like some text, like simple text. And
simplicity sells.
And people are loving it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, wow, I can chop these designs up in like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And versus like the stuff I spent a week designing. And like, well, like if that's what people want, that's what people want.
Yeah. I know that for me, because I have one hoodie that's like with the coordinates.
Yes.
Just basic embroidery. So it's basically that. And my wife was like, I don't know, like that's going to work. And it ends up being one of our best-selling items. And so then I brought that back and renamed it as a souvenir. And I'm like, this can be like a souvenir that you can get in there, like because it has the coordinates of Los Angeles. You can get it in our store. It did really well, so we're keeping that in the collection now. And kind of like we update the fit of the hoodie or we update the fit of the T-shirt, but we keep the same spirit of that design in there. We did. Even for the Complex Con, we did a Long Beach version of that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I think it's cool. And that's why I've been looking back through our archives and with our nomadic stuff and see what would blend well in with our style today that we can kind of move forward with in a more modern way.
Yeah. I even own 2 of those coordinate T-shirts.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Those are one of our most popular designs. And that's a very simple design, right?
Yeah. It was the first design I ever bought from you guys.
Yeah.
Because I live just down the street from the Melrose store, and I go there like pretty much all the time.
Cool. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we had to bring that back. And even, you saw Eric's wearing one today too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, that's really cool. So then let's talk about what challenges you had moving out to Los Angeles. Because I know some people listening and, might have also been inspired by Entourage or inspired by your story, your vlogs and all that kind of stuff to move out here, but haven't necessarily got up the courage to do so yet. What would you kind of advise them to kind of, either it's moving to Los Angeles or moving to New York or what, like some sort of goal that they have like that, like what kind of challenges and what kind of advice could you give someone to do that?
So when I was in high school, I've noticed a lot of kids, like they had their groups, like they always had like their friend groups. And a lot of the kids from my group, like my school, like they all kind of went to the same place together. They all moved to go to like Iowa together. They all moved to go to like Indiana together. So like when they got there, they kind of just like stayed with those same people and they kind of never really reached out and like found new friends. So I decided to do the complete opposite. I moved out here completely by myself with zero idea of what to do and force yourself to like, you're kind of in a survival mode. Like once you hit survival mode, you feel like you need to survive. Like you have to like make this work or else you fail. And I love that type of pressure because it makes you excel the most. So I moved out here knowing nobody. And I kind of just every single day found a new way to meet new people. I made this rule to like meet at least 3 new people a day.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And if I can meet 3 genuine people a day and be able to get their phone number, like you may never talk to them again, but you've at least met 3 people. If you do that every single day, you're gonna meet 1,000 people a year.
That's crazy, yeah.
And like it really, really worked. And that's what got me here. I felt like I needed the pressure to survive. Like even though I came here to go to school, like sure, like school is not going to be the reason why I make clothes. Like it's not like how I get into this. I didn't go to fashion school. I went to film school. So like if I met just like 3 people in clothing, fashion related stuff, or like even like in film related stuff, it's going to come around one day. And it just worked.
Yeah.
So like if you want to, like, I guess any advice for someone who wants to just move and pursue their dreams, kind of just do it. Like you have feel like don't feel like, oh, you need everything teed up when you arrive. Like, you need to have this huge plan. Like, not necessarily.
Yeah, I didn't really have a huge plan when I moved here myself, and like you said, kind of gives you, I guess, the necessity to actually make it happen.
Right.
You know, because one thing when I moved out here is I didn't have much money. And,
right.
Paying rent, that was scary to me every month, but I somehow made it happen, and then somehow made it out of that. But that was definitely outside of our comfort zone, right?
Yeah, you started doing odd jobs and everything. You like, if you don't make the rent happen.
I was doing odd jobs. Yeah, I was cleaning a garage, and my friend's garage would be like, I'd mow the lawns. I'd be like, it sounds like, and I rode a bike around, like, because it was, you know, that was just like, it's kind of starting all the way at the bottom is where I kind of started in Los Angeles, you know. Yeah. Like,
what's cool, like, to me is like the clothing company stuff. Like, I had zero clothing experience prior to making this. Like, I came out here and learned it all from ground zero. Like, I feel like a lot of people see the results now. They're like, oh, like he just has this clothing company, but they don't really know that I knew nothing.
Yeah.
And that's it's so sweet about like learning a new like field is if you get really into it, you can, if you like put in the work and just go on YouTube and just watch a lot of tutorials, anything is possible. I learned how to, I didn't even have Photoshop downloaded. I've never even used it before I had the idea to make a clothing company. And if you're like an entrepreneur or you want to be, you don't need to ask questions. You just go on YouTube and Google your question and you will find an answer. Like, half the tutorials you watch are from like some 13-year-old kid explaining how to use Photoshop. It's insane. And like people who say like, oh, you need to like, oh, I don't have enough money for Photoshop. Some 12-year-old kid will tell you how to get it for free. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of information out there. You just have to go and seek it.
We live in the perfect time to learn anything and everything for free.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of YouTube, you know.
Yeah.
Gives you that opportunity. And I think, you know, people, they want to learn new things. And so that's one thing that we want to start doing vlogs is kind of show people, you know, what goes into making a fashion company, what goes into making, you know, the day-to-day kind of stuff so that they can kind of be inspired to make their own company. And a lot of people I think are like want to do it and they want to learn. And like you said, they want to look on YouTube and they want to find out how to do a kickflip, or they want to find out how to do, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like you said, you can learn a lot of things from observing.
Yeah, you just go on YouTube and type in, like, say you wake up today and you're like, oh, I want to do a kickflip.
Yeah.
You're going to find like at least 20 different videos.
Yeah, we didn't have that bad. I had to work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like there's so much things like, oh, like how do you, like even like for me, like there'll be like such simple design things. Like how do you do this thing in Photoshop that I don't know how to do? Boom, type in the exact problem and a tutorial will pop up. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty special that we have that now, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So do you think that you know, with your YouTubing that you've kind of been that for someone else where they kind of want to learn how to do something and they kind of, or they get inspired to do something from what you're doing?
Yeah, it's really cool to like I feel like I've developed like a style of film making like over the years. And like whenever I see someone who like will tweet me like, oh, I made this video inspired by you, and you see like very simple, like different like just like a little like characteristics of the vlog, like things I'll just notice like, oh wow, like that's like definitely like something I do, and it's pretty insane to like see like there's one story actually of this kid named Garrett Bruce. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah,
I went to New York, and I just put on my story like, hey, I'm trying to go on some rooftops, and this kid who was like 14 hit me up and he was like, yeah, like I get you in rooftops. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'll never forget this. He finds us, he sneaks us into this like hotel.
Yeah.
And we go into like the fire escape and there's a locked door. And he's like, hey, I need to unlock this door. Like he's like, give me a credit card. Give me 5 seconds. I'm like, what? He's like, count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He did it with a credit card?
And he just pick locked the door with a credit card. This kid's 14 years old.
In a movie.
I know, right? And then
it never works. That's why I never thought it worked.
I know.
Snap your credit card.
It was crazy. And then I come to a few years later, like literally like a month ago, I see the kid again. and we were just at Mel's Diner on Sunset. And he's like, how you doing, man? And he's like, bro, like ever since we've been hanging out, like I got really inspired to like do stuff. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm like Tyga's photographer now.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what? And he was showing me all these photos. Like they take private jets everywhere. They only do they do all arena shows. Crazy. And this was just a 14-year-old kid who like hit me up on Instagram, and like to see that like I've even made a small impact on this kid's life, and now he's like, he felt the need to go out and do all this.
Yeah.
He's like 18 and he's like amazing at taking photos now.
Well, that's one, that's flattering, and then also that's just like a good feeling that you've done that.
Right.
And then it also goes to show that you can go out there and, you know,
you can be anyone,
be successful or whatever you want to do.
Like I think it's funny is like a lot of people who like watch my videos like they know that like my family comes from like a real estate company, and like they do well, they're successful, but like that doesn't have anything to do with my artistic ability.
Yeah.
Like sure, like I had like the base level of like the real estate stuff, but you don't see me doing any real estate. Like that's just the family stuff.
Yeah.
But like you can, if you have like a goal and you want to do it, you can do it. Like no one in my family makes clothes, and that's like now my thing.
Yeah.
So like I just got really inspired one day, and I thought like I want to make a clothing company. And like you don't need the crazy connections or anything. Anyone can become something.
Yeah, because like you said, you started and you just met those few people every day.
Exactly.
And it was similar to me. Like when I moved to LA, like I had to start from scratch in terms of like I knew no one to make anything or anything like that. And I remembered one guy I'd spoken to that I met, you know, and I was like, oh, he lives in LA. Let me hit him up. I remembered he did work in fashion. You know, oh, let me talk to him. So I went and talked to him. And then, he didn't have anything that like, but he knew what I needed, and he sent me to this other person.
Exactly.
And the other person didn't know anything that I needed, but they knew someone else that had that thing that I needed. So it was kind of like I was going from one person to the next person, starting from one person and ending up basically ending up with my the guy that I'm working with now.
Yeah.
But we went through some obvious obstacles on some of the people, but definitely it was just by asking one person, going to the next place and asking another person. That was kind of how I found people.
I think people need to not be afraid to just ask for favors like all the time. Like just hit up people and ask like, hey, can you help me with this? And like no one like will treat you differently. Like if they can't, they'll just say no. But if they can, like yeah, you can really get benefit from that. You can get serious value from just asking people to help you out, like to meet people. Like say, like one of my buddies will hang out with someone that I've like really been a fan of. Like, hey, is it possible to introduce me one day? And they're like, yes. And next thing you know, like we're friends. I think that's so like human interaction is so important.
Yeah.
Like people just think like, oh, like they're famous. You can never like really, they're not people. That's not true. Like you can eat, like everyone is a person. Say like obviously if like I'm like, hey, I want to meet Kylie Jenner, it's gonna be kind of difficult. But like if like someone's like, hey, I've heard a few of his songs before. Can I say hi? And you never know.
Yeah.
You guys can end up becoming friends one day.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of famous people, not that I know a lot of them, but I'm just like, I think like there's a perception that they're not approachable,
right?
And they don't want to be bothered. Even I have that feeling like that I don't like if I go to the supermarket and I see someone famous, I don't want to bother them,
right?
But at the end of the day, also like you said, they may be nice people, and I think a lot of them, you know, a lot of successful people you'll find are nice people and
exactly
are, you know, friendly and but if you don't give it an opportunity,
well, a lot of people who become famous, like it's not really hard to become famous if you're not friendly. Like if you're not like a nice person, like it's hard to become successful. Like if you're like a mean person all the time, like why would it
last long?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like most people that have like really gotten it far in life, I feel like are the nicest people.
Yeah,
because they had to be.
Yeah, and I think they're just genuinely like that. You know, they're just outgoing, and I think you just have to kind of see someone that is like that, and then approach them and just
exactly
give it a shot.
100%.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks coming on. And
thank you for having
sharing
me.
your story, and appreciate that, and definitely want to check out more of your stuff.
Thank you.
If you want to check out Justin's clothing, you can go. What's your website?
If you want to check out my clothing, it's called 1340collective.com. And my social medias are just at Justin Escalona or at 1340 Collective.
Cool. Yeah. So check him out. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right.